So after seeing The Croods, I decided to go see something completely different than The Croods, to say the least. Which is Spring Breakers. Um, there might be people that watch my reviews don't know what Spring Breakers is. This is a movie that I kept seeing popping up a lot online, like advertisements or photos, and I'm like, what is this movie? I knew it starred James Franco. I knew it just, I, I, I didn't know what to go, what this movie was really about. It was only about a couple days before I saw this movie that I actually watched the trailer, and that was mainly because of all the good reviews it was getting. And I was like, well, and I watched the trailer and I'm like, this, I don't see this movie, me liking this movie that much, but what the hell, I'll give it a shot. I said I will watch every movie that's certified fresh, and it was getting released wide this week. And I noticed was getting a lot of publicity because this is Vanessa Hudgens and Selena Gomez in a completely different role, like you've never seen before. Um, and coming out of this movie, I mean, I maybe should have done this review. I just this is one of the weirdest movies one of the strangest, most bizarre movies I've seen all year, and it's up there with ABC's of Death. Although ABC's of Death is more crazy and and bizarre than this. This is a close second, though. Um, this movie is I don't. It's one of those movies I don't know whether to hate or love. There are the really bizarre things in this movie or make this movie great, which I'll get into. But one of the better things, James Franco in this movie is one of the best things about this movie. He pulls off one of the weirdest performances of his whole career. This is one of the strangest, most bizarre performances. I keep using the word strange and bizarre, but it's the best way to describe it. it. He could be very creepy, but also at the same time, like at the beginning of this movie, when his character was introduced, I was thinking that he was just basically playing James Franco playing James Franco, in which he's just a pothead. But as the movie went on more and more, his character got more weird and just bizarre, and I had no idea what was up with his character. I think all the girls did good playing annoying teenage or college girls in this movie. Um, it is really weird how this whole movie, I swear to Christ, is directed by someone who has ADD. Like there's just random stuff that just like happens. Like good example is the um, opening minute of the movie is just shots of these college students on a beach and naked women, like tits and ass all over the place, and doing all this, all this debauchery and everything else on this beach, and then right after that it cuts and goes right to the movie, which in hindsight makes no sense. It was just like, oh, let's just show shots of tits and ass and there you go, like for shock value, I guess. I don't know. And they do this a lot in the movie. There's just a lot of like random stuff that just pops up out of nowhere. This director, you can tell, was trying to be a pretentious as hell. This movie's trying to, like, you can tell that they're trying to have a moral or have some kind of message, but really it doesn't, because it it it's completely, if it did have a message, it's completely lost by the end of the movie. Um, yeah, this movie is obviously, you can tell that the director thought they were telling or being more clever than they thought they were. You can. It's obvious in this movie. This director obviously thought they. I never heard of this director, and I never seen her movies. And also, I couldn't stand that hyper stylized style. I know it's kind of redundant of this movie. Just the way it was shot, it kind of was annoying. Um, but it sounds like I'm just kind of going on a rant and just kind of trashing this movie. This movie, while all those problems are in there, it it is my, I believe, and I agree with one critic that this is gonna be like a cult classic. This is a weird, because the stuff that is in this movie is just like unbelievable. Best example I could give, and without spoiling too much of this movie, is halfway through this movie. All right, the story is, if you don't know, the girls want to go to spring break, Florida. They wanted these four girls. One of them is Selena Gomez. Selena Gomez is a Christian girl who her church leader is the wrestling superstar Jeff Jarrett, one of the weirdest cameos I've ever seen in my entire life. That came out of nowhere. That was pretty amusing. For me, anybody who knows wrestling and knows who Jeff Jarrett was, it was pretty goddamn amusing. Um, but she agreed. She wants to go to Florida on spring break with these three girls, and she's warned by even people in her church group that you probably shouldn't hang out with these girls because they're a little crazy. They have a reputation for being a little crazy, and so these girls want to go to Florida, but they don't have the money. They've been saving up for like forever, and then like 10 minutes of the movie, they get the plan of let's rob a fast food restaurant and take that money and go to Florida. They do that. They hold the fast food restaurant at gunpoint with water guns, squirt guns, and then they get the money and they're able to go to spring break in Florida. And while in Florida, they go to a party where there's cocaine and a lot of stuff like that, and the cops come in and they damn it, the cops come in and they arrest them, and because of that they're put in jail and solicited and told they have to pay a fine. Well, James Franco comes in and bails them out of jail, and because of that, yeah, hold on a second. He bails him out of jail, and Selena Gomez in this movie is the only smart one in this whole freaking movie, because she right away is like, this is really weird. A guy we don't know is breaking us out of jail for reasons we don't know. But all the other girls like, yeah, this is great. Yeah. Luckily, Selena Gomez goes bye-bye. She's gone by halfway for this movie. I'm kind of spoiling the movie, sorry. But anyways, so it's the three girls left. And at one point, two of the girls are in bed with James Franco in his house. And they start playing with his guns and everything else. And then all of a sudden put the gun to James Franco's head and put it in his mouth. And then at one point, James Franco takes the gun that is in his mouth and performs a blowjob on a gun. I am not joking. I was sitting there in the movie theater going, am I really witnessing this? James Franco, I love James Franco, but this is this is completely comes out of left field. First off, this comes out of left field when they point the gun at him, and then he decides when these girls point a gun at him to give a blowjob to a gun, and after he gives a blowjob to the gun, they decide to join forces with him and start robbing people. And then apparently this is a movie that if you are a fan of Britney Spears or Skrillex, you're gonna love this soundtrack. Um, James Franco has a piano, and right after this, James Franco has a piano, and he tells them they're asking him to sing a song for them, and he says, "Oh, I'm gonna sing a song from one of the greatest artists of all time, Britney Spears," and he starts singing the song. I forget what song it is, and he sings it, and then they start playing the actual song. And while the song is playing, there's a montage of them just uh, robbing spring breakers for I don't know what reason. But the best part about this is that James Franco's reaction is like he's like jumping up in the air. He's like, for no apparent reason he's doing this, and I'm like, what is going on with this movie? I'm like, what and just the weird bad shit stuff that happens in this movie. And then, you know what, up to that point the movie wasn't bad, it wasn't that bad, but then it got to that point and shit just got crazy. It was bizarre, and it gets weirder after that. I'm not giving away the ending, but the ending is like, at first I was thinking this movie was trying to say that, you know, girls should be careful when on spring break because, you know, they could deal with the consequences of their actions and everything else, and if they don't be careful, bad things can happen to them. I thought that was where it was going. Unfortunately, this is why I believe there is no moral to this movie, that there is no like message to this movie, because you would have thought that, but then the ending happens, and I'm not gonna spoil this, but they get away with. They basically get away clean free, and there is no basically they really don't learn a goddamn lesson. So, what is if there was a message to this movie? What is it? I said maybe the message is maybe parents don't want to know what their kids do on spring break, because towards the end they're calling their moms acting like, oh, they're off spring break while they're still in Florida. It's really weird. This movie is one of the weirdest. I could go on forever about some of the weird stuff that happens in this movie. I probably can't even remember half of them, but after I do this video, I'll probably remember some, and I'll forget. This is a weird movie, people. I can't say I hated it. It was so bizarre that it was entertaining, and more. I've had to think about this a lot after I saw this movie, whether I hated or liked this movie, and I actually liked this movie. For all the bizarre stuff, if it wasn't for all the bizarre stuff, it kind of, for all the bizarre stuff that happens in this movie, it kept me entertained, to say the least. Just being baffled. I like when a movie baffles me with the stuff that happens in it. When a movie baffles me, and I'm just sitting there going, I was sitting there going in the movie for like, what the am I watching? I was a lot. There were some points in that movie I was just like, what am I watching? And I don't know. Yeah, like I said, I guess I kind of recommend it. If you're curious, if this review makes you curious and seeing what the hell goes on in this movie, be my guest. It's I wouldn't say it's a boring movie. That's you know what, I'll give it that. It's not a boring movie, and I will say this too. I know this is gonna be a movie that either people love or hate, and I can see why. Either way, maybe I can see more why you would hate it, but um, as I don't love it. I don't. Let me clarify that I don't love this movie, but it it um go into this not thinking that. I think people are thinking that this is gonna be like a that movie like a hangover, another hangover movie, or a Project X kind of movie, where it's just like teenagers doing crazy things and that's it, and no, there's more to it, and it's really bizarre. I think people are thinking it's just gonna be showing people on spring break and that's it. No, it's more bizarre than that. It is really it's really out there. And I know a lot of people walk it out were like that was not what I expected. It was kind of what I expected, but in some ways it wasn't too. But yeah, I if I'm act if I'm seem baffled, I am. This was the weirdest movie, one of the weirdest movies I've ever seen. It's really hard to even describe this movie. So, all right, I'm getting off here. I knew this one was going to take me a little while, uh, but I'm gonna get off here, and I'll be back Friday with GI Joe Retaliation. Definitely. Hopefully the it's gonna be in 3D, and hopefully the 3D movie actually works this time. But all right, I'll be back I'll be back Friday with that movie, and I'll see you guys later.